retriever is an example of a purebred, whereas a mutt would be a mixture of two different dogs that would breed together to produce a mixture of those genes, possibly because they wanted maybe one that was friendly and one that was smart. So what is selective breeding? Well, it's when humans select the organisms to reproduce based on their traits. If you look at the image here, you can see a plant called the wild mustard. And that wild mustard has been bred to produce things like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, kale, and something called kohlrabi. These are all different kinds of plants that have been introduced into the environment based off of the genes of this wild mustard. So how did we get to this process? Well, we had to know a lot about genetics, and scientists use information to produce offspring with specific traits based on the genes that each parent had. So an example of this in traditional genetics, there is a scientist named
Mendel, and what he did is he took different pea plants and he bred them together to determine what the offspring could be. And based on those studies, now we've realized what potential offspring we can have with different parents. This allows us to be a little bit pickier or selective about which parents reproduce in order to get an outcome or offspring that we want. Usually you see this done with animals and plants. Question: what different plants and animals do you think have been bred for a specific purpose or for a specific look? So think about all the different plants and animals you know today. What features do you think they might have as a result of selective breeding? One example is the different colored cauliflower up here. So we've chosen to breed this cauliflower differently to allow for different colors to make it a little bit more exciting to eat. Another example is a dog that might be a combination of different genes, maybe because they don't shed, or they're a smaller size, or they're more friendlier, don't bark a lot, or whatever the characteristics that the owner might want to have. So some reasons for selective breeding. Most species of animals will have offspring that are the strongest possible. And as long as those offspring are strong, as we'll learn in the unit on evolution, they have a better chance of survival. When we talk about plants, usually we're choosing for taste, speed of growth, hardiness, how strong they are, and how useful they are to the human population. If we can make more money off of them, we're more likely to selectively breed for that plant. Specifically, which I mentioned in the last picture, is things like vegetables like the colorful cauliflower, also different dog breeds based on their looks or different characteristics they might have. So we'll just wrap up today's lesson with a Regents question on selective breeding. So it says, selective breeding is a technique that is used to 1. Give all organisms a chance to reproduce. 2. Produce organisms from extinct species. 3. Produce offspring with certain desirable traits. Or 4. Keep farm crops free of all mutations. Hopefully you selected question number 3. So, producing offspring with certain desirable traits is the sole purpose of selective breeding. Now check for your understanding by writing 2 questions and their answers below this answer.